Welcome to Stand Out From The Crowd, the podcast dedicated to helping professionals and leaders amplify their voice, impact, and influence. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hello, bonjour, salam alaikum, and welcome, beautiful people, for another live episode. My name is Darine, and I'm the host of the Stand From The Crowd podcast. Every week on Wednesday, I interview some of the brightest leaders and entrepreneurs of our times. As people, we have strengths, weaknesses, and we share stories, and this is what connects us as humans, right? So we talk all about it without filter. Before we dive into today's topic, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave your review on the podcast. I would greatly appreciate it. As usual, let us know where you are tuning in from because we have a beautiful international community and we love it when you take an active part in the conversation. So, as we enter the new year, let's take some time to reflect on what's important to us. What do we want to carry on into the new year? What do we want to leave behind us? And, how can we start building new habits to make a successful 2023 and to build a successful life? So, today, this is what we are going to talk about with our standout guests, which are Christen, Tracy, and my friend Robert. So, hello, beautiful people. How are you doing?
Hey.
Hi.
Well,
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here today.
yes, thank you for joining us, and thank you for all of you watching the live and the replay. Again, do not hesitate to leave your comment, question, and share your insights for 2022 in the comment section, and let us know what are you looking forward to in 2023. So, beautiful standout guest. I have a couple of questions for you today. This is already the end. This is already the end of 2022. I feel like the older I get, the faster time goes by. Is that just me or like you feel the same too?
It's not just you.
I
Yes,
have to agree.
totally
I
the same.
definitely have to agree. Yeah. But I'm glad
So,
for 2022 to be over, though. Like, I'm looking forward to 2023.
you really so Kristen, can you describe us how would you describe 2022 in 2 3 words?
In two,
Ooh.
3 words.
Yes.
um, you know what? Here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say make the ask because that's what I did a lot
Oh,
of in 2022.
Mm.
okay. You
Yeah.
made the ask. That's
I
great.
asked. I reached out and
Yeah,
I asked. That was
which
my
we
theme
don't.
this year.
I like that one, which we don't do often. But let me introduce you, our last guest here, Bobby. Hello and welcome, Bobby. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes,
We
we
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you well.
Okay, great. Sorry, the lighting in this room is terrible, but I'm actually I'm out west at my mother-in-law's house for the holidays, and this is the best, quietest room I could get. But I'm excited to be here, and sorry I'm a little bit late. I was trying to pair the channels, and it didn't actually work because you already started.
That's okay, no worries. You are here.
Okay.
That's what the most important for us today. So thank you for joining us, Bobby. So make the ask. That's something that you did. And so, can you tell us a little bit the difference before not daring making the ask, which is the case for a lot of people watching and listening to us, and what the change that you see after you decided to make the ask more often?
But like you said, like a lot of us do struggle with asking
Mm-hmm.
for help. But this year I decided to try it out. Let's experiment with actually putting it out there. And people are so ready and willing to help. But we
Mm.
have to be able to swallow our pride. A lot of times it seems like we have to swallow our pride and just
Mhm.
ask. And it's just some of this,
Wow.
it could be the smallest thing that can have the biggest results. I had a really big year simply because I made the ask.
Wow, wonderful. How about you, Tracy? How would you resume your 2022 using two, three words? A little bit more if you want to.
I was thinking about this while Kristen was answering, although I really love Make the Ask. But for me, it was very much a year of grief and love. Um,
Mm,
and it was, I think, so for me, compared to a lot of other people who experienced this at the beginning of the COVID pandemic, we had a lot of loss in my family in 2022. And it was really interesting just to explore the journey from grief. I mean, love exists the whole time because the reason why you grieve is because you love the people that you lost, but kind of transitioning that and being able to find more love in the space, in the digital space, in our family
mm-hmm,
space, and like with clients. And I'm a big believer that love is the thing that like connects people. And for a very long time, we've segregated love into specific areas, and we're like, love can exist here, but not over here.
mm,
And I don't think that it's helping us very much. So for me, it's really been about like not only how can I give love in any scenario, but also how can I receive love? Because I learned that I wasn't very good at that. And in terms of looking at abundance and things like that has an impact as well. So receiving love was something that was a very big transformation for me in 2022.
mm-hmm. And love is everywhere. It's just like I feel, we don't take the time to see it, or we don't open up enough to receive it, right?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
How about you, Rob?
All right, so let me just ask: Have you guys seen the Pirates of the Caribbean movies? Anybody seen those? Johnny Depp, Jack Sparrow. So for me, 2022 was kind of like Johnny Depp playing Jack Sparrow. He was walking around half drunk half the time, and he did some good things every once in a while. He was trying to do good, and sometimes he got in trouble, but all in all, everything was just a blur, right? So the whole year, I'm attempting to do a lot of good things, but some things didn't go the way that I planned. Quite a few things I just stumbled drunkenly upon with good luck. And some things went exactly how I planned it, but all in all, it was kind of a blur because it went by so fast. But for me, you all have said some things that resonated with me. Asking for help, man, that's a big one. And I think sometimes in order to ask for help, I learned to forgive myself, because a lot of times we don't ask because we don't want to bother people and we don't want to burden them with our stuff, but yet we give so selflessly to other people, and then at some point in time, it's okay to reap and get some of that back. So while I was walking around drunkenly like Jack Sparrow, I hit my head and came to some of these revelations. It's okay to let go of certain things, it's okay to
Mhm.
forgive yourself, and it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah. I want to say, like, it's everything literally can be okay as long as you do it with good intention, you know?
Yeah.
And like, why would we like hold ourselves back from loving, receiving love, from asking, from trying, and failing our, and I use it quote unquote failing, like, just how about allowing ourselves to try, and to understand that it is okay to not be okay, or okay to do something that we are not used to do, right? I think like that would be much much less stressful for us.
Yeah.
I agree.
Bob, how about you? How would you summarize that your 2022 year using two, three words?
Well, I'd probably say the two things that come to mind is community and meaningful connections, and I'll explain
Hmm.
that in a second. So the community piece is, I've spent a lot of time being part of communities, but I've also worked on building communities. So one of the communities I've been building is called the Thought Leadership Writing Club, just a community of mostly LinkedIn influencers and experts, but also people who are building brands across different businesses across different areas. But I've been nurturing this community. We've been meeting every week. We've been talking to each other, and so that community has been really, really powerful. And now it's starting to reap the rewards. New people are coming in, and it's starting to, people are referring each other to business, and now, as I always say, the rising tides lifting all boats. And so for me, that community building piece is incredibly important. Uh, and it's also maybe think about communities that I'm part of, as well as other groups that I'm running. Another community I'm part of is TEDx. I've done 5 TEDx talks, and so
Mhm.
I started a TEDx speaking community to help people get TEDx talks, and that community also is thriving, and people are there, and it's a great conversation. Doing my Twitter spaces, doing my Clubhouse rooms, doing my LinkedIn I rooms, that's all about building community and just giving back, but having people that are there on a regular basis and sharing knowledge. So for me, community has been a huge part of this year. That also includes my friends, which goes back to the meaningful relationship piece, which is I'm a very social guy. So I'm 100% extrovert according to Myers-Briggs. And when I used to have, Christmas parties, birthday parties, Oscar parties, I'd invite, 200 people in my local area. If I'm running an event, I want 100, 200 people to show up. And one of the things I've learned during the pandemic was on my birthday this year, in February, I decided, let me just invite people I really, really want to see and talk to. Because oftentimes you have like 50 people and you're running around talking to people, having quick conversations, and it's catch up. Someone I haven't seen in 4 years, someone I haven't seen in 7 years. Oh, how's it going? How's life? Oh, you have a new baby. Great. But instead, for my birthday party, I invited just 10 people. Now, seven showed up, and we had this amazing dinner for like 3 hours. It
Wow.
was wow. I was like, this is great. Why don't I do this more often? As an extrovert, it doesn't have to. I don't have to have 100 people. I could have some and for an extrovert, 6 to 10 is small. But it was still intimate and very meaningful. And now, when I had a holiday gathering, I just invited the people that I really, really wanted to see. And so for me, now here I am in British Columbia, and when I go to a city, so for example, I'm going to Vancouver for New Year's Eve. I don't invite. Usually, what I would do is I would invite 20 people to a lunch, and whoever shows up shows up. And now what I do is I pick who are the 1 or 2 people I really, really want to see. Let me
Mm.
just send them a message. Hey, if you're around, I'd love to see you one on one. Let's just get together or come by and we can hang out. And so deepening that relationship
Mhm.
and building meaningful connections has been a huge part of what I do. And also that works to LinkedIn and Twitter and all that, because I have friends on LinkedIn and Twitter who I've never met personally, like, Denny, we've never met personally, like in person, but, we build a connection with them, and building
Mhm.
those connections. I have some really amazing friends that I hang out with on LinkedIn and Twitter, which is amazing. So that's the other aspect of about this.
And I like to say less is more, when it comes to networking. I feel like for the longest time, people had this vision that, oh, it's about the number, right? Like I have to meet like 50 new people every month or every day or every week. And, the longer the list, the better. When actually, I have always been, about nurturing a few relationships, but, strongly deepen the relationship, as you said, Bobby, because then this is how, first of all, you build a real connection, a real relationship. And I found those few relationships are way more important and impactful than having hundreds of people on my list and not knowing who they are, how I can help them, and eventually how I can make the ask, as Christian was saying, for them to help me out, right? So the fewer, the better. So you get to know people, you know how you can help them, and you know how they can help you as well, and how you can build a win-win relationship. That's it. It is that simple.
Yeah, I have to
Um,
keep my list small because I forget everybody's name. So I have to,
I'm very bad with name too. So I can share one or two tips with you later, Rob, how to remember name. But yeah, when it comes to networking, remembering names is very important. So let's take a look at the comment here. We have Gary Spencers who says 2022 was a year of consolidation. Oh, I like that. And acceleration. And thank you for sharing that, Gary, because I feel this is what I want for myself in 2023. I want to capitalize and
Yeah.
consolidate what I have been building in 2022 and accelerate my growth. So thank you. That one resonates very, very much with me. We have someone joining us from New Zealand who says best
Wow.
wishes for 2023. Wow, I think it's night time in New Zealand. Gary who says it's raining in the UK. Here it's not snowing. In Alberta, it's snowing over there. It's
It
sunny.
is
It's
snowing here.
yeah.
When is it
It,
not raining in the UK? I mean,
that's a good
And I can say
question,
it always rains here too in Victoria, BC.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
always raining.
right?
It's a wet
And
Christmas.
and we have Darren also. Hi, Darren, who says very hot and humid in Auckland.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is part of life, right? We live in the, and that's the beauty of internet. We are in so many different places, living so many different realities, but we are able to connect for the time of 30-45 minutes. So please keep the comment coming. So my next question to you, um, what was your biggest challenge this time of the year? Kristen, do you want to start? The biggest challenge of 2022.
Biggest challenge. Well, we are dealing with our favorite thing, inflation. And a
Mm.
lot of people were, of course, worried about their finances. And because of that, and being a coach, I lost a few clients because they thought they had to prioritize their finances, and because I work with people who have a full-time job and a side hustle, they put the
Mm-hmm.
side hustle on the shelf. Their side hustle wasn't much of a priority as well. So my biggest challenge turned into my biggest win, because with
Ooh.
that, I had to keep going. I'm an entrepreneur. Like, what can I do? How can I pivot? That was the word for 2020, right? Pivot. And we all picture Ross on, on the stairwell with the couch. So it actually like most entrepreneurs, we take that one thing and we know how to shift it. So while it was a challenge, that was when I really kind of sparked making the ask. So my biggest challenge did turn into my biggest win, because I ended up having my biggest accomplishment this year with getting the entrepreneur in residence with Toronto Public Library. And even
Mm-hmm.
that came out of making the ask, just reaching out to my network and saying, hey, like, where can I show up? Do you know anywhere, somewhere that's looking for coaches? I want to be able to offer my services more, and blah, blah, blah. And people are tapping into their thing. And somebody's like, hey, I think this might be a fit for you. And I'm like, that's mine. I claimed it, and it turned out to be mine. So if I didn't make that ask, and if I wasn't being challenged, hey, who knows what would have happened?
Ooh. That's
Yeah.
a great lesson here. Wow,
Mhm,
love it.
mhm, mhm.
Rob, what was your biggest challenge
oh
outside
wow,
of being like Jack Sparrow?
And
you
walking
know
around
what?
drunkenly.
So I would say my biggest challenge, my inner me was my enemy. And what I mean by that is just too much in my own head with certain things, because let's face it, the year has been interesting for everybody. We do have inflation coming. We have people that have lost jobs, people that have lost lives, people's businesses have tanked, some people's businesses have grown. And in the midst of that, sometimes you can start overthinking. Well, let me just personalize that. Sometimes I can start overthinking and not take risk when I should, and sometimes take risks that I shouldn't. So, the biggest challenge was just facing the inner me. That was my enemy, but also my
Mm.
angel at the same time, because it forced me to step outside of my comfort zone even further. So the last 3 years has just been a constant dancing outside of the comfort zone, looking in, pointing and laughing. So yeah.
But I like what you're saying, the both of you, because it's really the mindset, and I want to say the spirit of an entrepreneur, right? Because it's nothing glamorous. Like, there is nothing fancy or glamorous about being an entrepreneur, despite what social media try to make you believe, people. Like, it's really about being challenged on a daily basis. Sometimes, let me know if it resonates with you. Sometimes I'm like, why do I do that? Why am I doing this to myself? Like, I had a good job, great situation, living the good life, and I decided to become an entrepreneur. And some days are good, many days are not so good. Some days I don't understand what's happening in my life. And I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? But then, it's about learning. It's about looking at challenges and obstacles as an opportunity to grow, to learn, to get better, to improve. And I feel like this is really what I love the most about entrepreneurship, is this ability that I have to go outside of my comfort zone, doing things I never imagined I would do or I would be able to do, right?
Yeah.
Tracy,
Yeah.
what's your thought on this?
Yes, agree. And I think this is probably pretty common for entrepreneurs, but this happens to me a lot anyway, right? And I'm like, you know what? I'm really smart. I had a great career in sales and marketing. Like, why wouldn't I just go back and get another job? It's so easy to just have a job. Right?
Yeah.
And then I remind myself that the reason I don't do that is because I have I have a 4-year-old son at home, and it's very important for me to be around for these formative years of his life. And so I want to be at home, and I don't want to work. When I was in corporate, I worked 80 hours a week. I don't want to work 80 hours a week. I want to work 25 hours a week, right? And that's what balance looks like for me right now. And it might be different 5 years from now, but that's what balance looks like for me. And corporate workspaces still don't want to create that, right? They don't want to
Mhm.
create that and say, like, I can provide this dollar amount of value in 25 hours a week. I want someone to come and sit here for 40 hours a week.
Right.
And I'm just not ever going to do that again. And so it is hard, but I think when we come back to our whys, it makes it
Mhm.
easier for us, because one of the other problems I had in my corporate work life was that I didn't feel like I was making a contribution.
Yeah.
And what I realize now is that I wasn't making a contribution that was meaningful to me. I was making
Mhm.
a contribution, but it wasn't meaningful to me at all. And I'm grateful every day for my son, because he showed me what meaning meant, right? Like, I could spend time with him and that was meaningful, and I could spend time at work and none of it was meaningful. And while God bless the stay-at-home moms, because I don't know how people do that, but I want to make a contribution. I want to do something that's meaningful to me. And what's meaningful to me is for people to see their sparkle in themselves. And so I get to do that at home with my son every day. And I get to do that through my coaching, and even like just by showing up on LinkedIn, right? So I get to do that, and I don't have to be chained to a desk for 40 hours a week. And so anyway, that why is the thing that keeps me going. And I really appreciate too that Gary is sharing in the comments that his
Yeah.
biggest challenge was leaning into vulnerabilities and discovering strength and resilience, because I think this is what we practice every day as entrepreneurs, is strength and resilience. It's about not giving up on the things that we believe in. And it's not about everybody believing in exactly the same things, but it's about someone standing up for what they believe and doing the thing. And sometimes they do the thing that doesn't work, and all of it, but I think it's a beautiful, I talk a lot about personal brand evolutions. And so for me, it just is a beautiful evolution to watch people go through, say, like, more and more every day. I know that, like,
Mhm.
real internal knowing. I know what I'm here to do. I know the contribution I'm here to make, and I'm going to go and do that because I get one life and I want to
Yeah.
make it count. Um, and
That's
so in
that.
all of those challenging times, I think that it is a story of resilience, because
It
if there
is.
was no
It is.
challenge, we wouldn't have to conquer
100%.
anything.
Mhm. Mhm. Definitely yes. So, Bobby, what's your biggest challenge? What was your biggest challenge in 2022?
Well, I think two things come to mind. But when I was working in corporate, and before I escaped and finally started my business 17 years ago, I was known as being too nice. And so in the hustle and bustle of competitive worlds, corporate worlds, I was too nice, and so I didn't want to be. They wanted me to be a jerk, an asshole, and I was like, I don't want to be that
Mm.
person. I don't like this. And so as an entrepreneur, I had the freedom to be who I was and be nice to my clients and whatnot. But now what's happening is, now that I have team members for I run 3 businesses, and I have communities that I'm trying to support and help them excel and grow. I've been challenged to this year to try to be more tough love. And so in the last 2-3 months, I've been like more forceful. Okay, guys, no, listen, this is really important. You need to do this. I'm going to challenge you to do this. I'm going to try to make you accountable. And I was being more tough love Bobby, which was hard for me because I feel like I don't want to be mean to people, and I don't want to turn into like one of those corporate cultures that I disliked. So being a bit, but being more loving still, but also being firm and just holding people accountable so they can grow. I mean, I try to make it, this is in your best interest. This is in our best interest. Here's why we need to have the day. Here's why we need to get this done. So someone said, Bobby, I noticed you're getting a little bit more, getting to the point with things. I'm like, I like it. I'm like, okay, good. So, because I feel bad. And so I think that's one, trying to move my community along, moving the team along, and being more specific. Oh, look, here's the timelines. Here's what we did. Here's why it's important. I think it's really important for us to do this. And if you can, just tell me and I'll support you. My role is to support you as your coach, as your mentor. I think that to me is one challenge I'm trying to overcome. And the second challenge is, and this is ongoing, but basically it's my weight, my health. I'm diabetic, I'm overweight. Before the pandemic hit, I had lost 40 pounds, was doing really, really well. I was in a groove. And then the pandemic, everything fell apart. And then for the last year and a half, I've been trying to get back into the groove and trying to, get some momentum. And I've failed every single time. Like I can manage 4 days, maybe 10 days, sometimes even 2 weeks, and then it just falls apart. And so I went to my diabetes doctor, and I added a new medication, which sucks because now I'm on 4, and it's a needle that you put in your tummy or your leg, and it makes me think like what. And then Christmas, the holidays is kind of crazy. So what am I doing to try to overcome that? And so as I think about this past year, not that I haven't tried, I have tried. I've done different things that I've had success with, but nothing has stuck yet. I recently started an accountability group. But during the holidays, it kind of fell apart. But my hope is to continue that into the new year. But for me, that's an ongoing challenge of life. And I've also learned that as a large person, as someone who struggles with binge eating disorder. One of the things I learned too is that binge eating will never go away. It will happen. So then how do I manage it? How do I manage the frequency? How do I manage the return after it's happened? And I used to try to eliminate it, but I realize now that no, it's always going to be there. So now I have to manage it. So for me, that's something that I still struggle with. This year has been up and down. I've had some successes, had some failures, but I'm mindful of that. It's a journey, and I'm doing the best I can.
Wow. And so,
the other thing I'll say, sorry, one more thing is that, and the reason why this is important is because it affects everything else. It affects my speaking. It affects my coaching. It affects, at the worst cases several years ago when I was so overweight, I didn't want to go to events. I wanted to stay home. I felt I don't have clothes that fit, and I didn't want to go. And so I know it affects my energy levels. It affects, like instead of having a full day of, 10 hours as an entrepreneur, I'm tired after 6. So that's also important to why it needs to be addressed.
Oh, no, this is very important, because health, mindset, and, how you feel, how you think, does impact the work that you do, right? 100%. And thank you for sharing that with us because it's very important for those of you listening, watching, and even for us on the podcast, to be reminded that, hey, you got to take care of yourself. And this is something that we have a tendency to set aside as an entrepreneur, right? Self-care. Because we put so much energy and time on the business that we forget that, okay, but we need to take care of ourselves first in order to take care of the business, in order to take care of the family, in order to to be a good person to be around for our loved ones and our professional circle. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, Bobby. So that's the perfect transition actually to my next questions. And I will ask you this question to follow up, Bobby, on just on what you just shared with us. How do you plan to make 2023 your best year yet?
Great question. I think that number one is leveraging the communities that I've built. I think that to me is a huge part of making my best year yet, because I have communities both from a professional standpoint as well as my personal standpoint. So that for me, having really strong, meaningful communities will go a long way to my success. The second thing is, focusing where my efforts will lead the best results. This is kind of the 80-20 rule. 20% of my effort leads to 80% of the results. So I'm always big on, okay, what are the two or three big things, projects I want to do? What are the two or three big content strategies that I have? What are the two or three big, communities that I want to leverage? So when I think about that focus, I think that works really, really well. And the third thing is continuing to find ways to scale, because I first started as a speaker, and so I'd speak at different events all around the world. But one of the things with that is that it's not scalable. You speak and then you're done. If you get hit by a bus, it's over. So having online programs, the pandemic actually was helpful. I digitized 3 of my programs: storytelling and personal branding and thought leadership. And so that's something that I look at. Kind of,
Mhm.
how do I scale with the group stuff and the online programs? And so that's another angle that I'm doing, because for me, I was always ignoring those things. My number one thing I love is I love to be on stage in front of 500 people. That's my love. But the truth is, the world has changed, and so they're not going to be as frequent anymore. And so for me, I understand I have to build the online and the coaching programs, and so that's definitely going to be a new thing as part of my strategy 2023.
I like it. It's you narrow down, basically, you narrow down your focus and you look at where do you need to put your energy in order to scale the business. And that's very important. Very important. Yes. Rob, how do you plan to make 2023 your best year yet?
Oh, so for me, 2023, it really is about more engagement within my primary field, but then also breaking out into another field. So I tell people what I do, and they're like, no, there's no way you can do that. But I'm an auditor by trade, right? But what I do primarily now is I train auditors on soft skills, how to talk to people, how to relate to people. So now I'm trying to build a community where we can get together, because it's a very hard job. You oftentimes find fraud, you're oftentimes involved with investigators, whether federal or locally, and it's very stressful. I say that there's a love-hate relationship. People hate to see you coming and love to see you going. Um, but if I can get us together in a community where we can talk, I find that we have a better time. Now, the other thing that I'm trying to do in 2023 is do more keynote speeches. I've been doing that lately. People seem to like what I have to say about life and how I say it. I don't know why. Maybe I just have a gift, but I plan on using that the best way that I can. So between those two things, I want 2023 to be the year of where I just let it all out. There's a lot up in here that, you just let it all out. That's actually my motto for the year. Just let it all out.
Oh wow, love it. And would you say that you discover your passion and most importantly the impact that you were able to make with your speaking engagement, not especially for auditors, because we know you have a great impact in this community already, but the community at large, because you impact a lot of people that are non auditors people, right? But is that a skill or a strength, a gift that you discover recently and that you said, listen, this is my gift, let me let it out?
So I think it was a repressed or suppressed, whichever word fits their gift, because I've been like training in front of audiences since 2011, and people would say, "Hey, what you said sounds inspirational." I'm like, "Oh, okay, it's just my life. What do you mean?" And I just kept hearing it, and I'm like, "Okay, let me just talk about the things that I've experienced, because I've done a lot of, I don't know, things in life." And I think what happens is a lot of people don't want to talk about the good and the bad. And I don't mind talking about both or either. And I think that's what people like, is because I'll sit here, like this morning, I posted about, I won an award recently. The announcement came out yesterday. It was like 12 people
Oh,
who made an impact.
congratulations.
Yeah. And so, but what the post was about was, hey, it was the award, but I have a problem accepting compliments. I always have. And I think sometimes I feel like I don't deserve the compliments or something. I don't know. It's something internal that I work on. But that's what my entire post was about. And so I've gotten all these emails flooding in. Thank you for saying that. I feel the same way, but I'm just afraid to say it. Nah, man, I have a problem accepting compliments. I don't know. It boils down to a few things. Some of it is, I feel like I don't really deserve the accolades for the things that I've done. Some of it is, well, did I really do something that was that great? Really? Did I? And maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But that's not for me to judge. That's for the other person to judge. And so as I work through some of that internally. But I think, to answer your question, I think what people like is that I don't mind having these discussions and I'm raw about it because it is what it is. And I think when it comes out, you end up, you help others, but you also help yourself. Because my grandmother used to tell me, and I've said this to you before, Darine, she used to tell me, sometimes you get in situations when you feel like you can't help yourself. When you feel like you're in that situation, just help somebody else.
Mhm.
And so I think, just cycle of life, right? Lion King, it ends up coming back to you somehow. But wait. Let me circle back to something that Tracy said that I think is important though. Like really, really important. So I think that impact doesn't necessarily equal income. And so when Tracy said, well, I wasn't making an impact at work, then she thought about it and she said, I was making an impact. I was just making an impact for somebody else. And so now, as you start to make an impact for yourself, it may not equate to income just yet. You got to find the people that want what you think is impactful that can help them. Right. So I think a lot of us sit in the corporate workforce and we're not making an impact, but we have an income because we think that those two things are related when they can be, but there's not necessarily a correlation or causation there. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. Anyway,
That's
that was a long
exactly.
way of answering your question, Doreen.
That's very true. And actually, like one way to have both together, the impact and the revenue is most of the time by starting your business and doing something that you are passionate about. And this is how you can have both together, not all the time at the same time, but still you have a stronger and better chance to have the two of them together. So Tracy, how do you plan to make 2023 your best year yet?
So this is interesting for me because I've been a like mindset junkie for a while now. So I'm all about like let's learn things about myself, right? Because what I realized when I left corporate was that I didn't know how to be entrepreneur version of Tracy. I only knew how to be corporate version of Tracy, and corporate version of Tracy wasn't going to wasn't going to accomplish what I wanted to in the entrepreneurship arena. So I've been like and I talk a lot about my journey on LinkedIn as well, but I did a program earlier this year called the 7 Days to Passion Clarity Bootcamp, and it was about finding your passion. And one of the things that's really misconstrued about passion is that it's a thing, right? Like I'm passionate about Star Wars, right? Like there's things about Star Wars that make me feel the feeling of passion. And those like underlying drivers are the things that give you that passionate feeling. And so I went through this program, and one of the things I learned about myself is that collective contribution is something that's really important to me. So that kind of ties into my corporate past of like not making a contribution that was meaningful to me. And to me, that means everybody making their unique contribution and not trying to be someone who they're not, but just trying to be who they are. And it's funny that Bobby talks about standing on stages because like I've been a Toastmaster and whatever for a long time, right? Like when I was in business, that was the thing, right? That's the big goal, to be on stages, and that's what you want. And it's not that that's bad, but it's not for me, right? Like I don't actually want to stand on a stage. I want to stand in a room of people or be virtually in a room of people. I want to be in the group. I don't want to be at the front of the group. I want to be in the group. And so it's been really interesting for me to just look at what have I been doing, and how can I transition that in the new year to be more of a collective contribution, like I'm part of the team and I have my unique thing and that drives a specific result within the team, but I'm not the end all be all personal branding coach, right? Like I'm the right personal branding coach for some people. I have a community called Your Business Peeps, which is about like finding your authenticity. It's very much about like the discovery process. And I like to be in it. I like to be in it with the people. I like to be there sharing what I see that is unique about individuals, because when they realize that there's something about them that's worth igniting, that's the thing for me, right? And I want to be able to do that as much as possible. I've completely given up on my email newsletter because like I don't feel like it's interactive, and I like to be interactive, right? So it's been really interesting for me to see like, are the things that I love, what get me excited to show up, what give me like what ignites me, and how can I base more of my business on that in the new year. So it's not about like being everything to everybody. It's not about
Of
like
course.
being Brené Brown, right? Like maybe 10 years from now, but not today, right? It's about like how it's it really comes back to like, how do I do this Tracy's way? What is
Mhm.
Tracy's way? How can I figure out what is and what isn't Tracy's way? And then how can I on an ongoing basis base more of what I do, how I offer services, products, those types of things on how I want to show up as as a person.
As
So
Tracy.
that's really, yeah, that's what 2023 holds for me. More Traciness.
I love it because it's all about self-awareness, right? Self-awareness is
Yep.
key. Self-awareness is powerful. And I do believe self-awareness is the beginning of everything else. Because once you are able to identify what you like, what you don't like, right? What you want to do, what you don't want to do, then it gives you more room to focus on what you want to do really and to enjoy the process, right? So self-awareness is key, and I'm happy that you were able to discover yourself to in order to do and to give more Tracy to people. And Christen, last but not least, how do you plan to make 2023 your best year yet?
My word for 2023, first of all, is money. So
Ooh,
when we, Doreen, when we talked last time, we talked about defining our own success. And
yes.
I love that we've all touched on like impact and income. And I know like for this year with making the ask, it really was about putting myself out there, really
Mhm,
making that impact, making myself known, being able to leverage my community, my network, to appear in front of more audiences. And I love what I do and I'm good at what I do. I will say I'm a very good coach. I love podcasting. I'm also a Reiki healer, all that stuff. I do the things I love, and I realize it's with entrepreneurship as well, doing the things you love. Once you're in that zone, you're doing what you love. For me,
yeah,
at least, it didn't matter how much I made. Of course, I want to generate an income, and we have to generate an income. Like, come on,
of course.
right? But for 2023, I want it to be like about I'm making this impact, and I want to generate the income, and I want you see my value. I know my value. I'm communicating my value. Here's how much I'm worth. Here's how much I'm asking for. I'm asking for what I'm worth. I want to use the word money because I feel as women, especially, we don't
Mhm.
talk about money enough. And I want to just be able to throw that word around, spend it, make it, donate it, be friends with it, come hang out with me. I
You can
even
give me
have
some of it.
I can donate some to you, no problem, because I'll have so much of it. I'm big on law of attraction and manifesting and abundance and being able. I name my fish wealth and prosperity because I want those words
Ooh.
to be just around. So it's going to be my biggest year yet because we spend a lot of time really laying the foundation and building on what we are very very good at, and
Mhm.
now I feel like now is the time that I want to give me some money. Not some, give me more. See, it's all about the wording too, right? And what you're putting out
Yeah,
into the
true.
universe. Give me more money. I want to be unapologetically making that money and making that my biggest year yet in
And be proud
2020.
of it, be proud of making
Yeah,
money.
make
Listen, we are working
money.
for something. Yes, we love
All
money.
this stuff. Give me the
Wow, so thank you so much to all of you for joining the live today, this conversation. I appreciate you. Thank you to everyone who left a comment in the comment section, obviously, and for contributing to the conversation. Thank you so much. What can we wish you for 2023? Like, be happiness, health, wealth, and what else? Love.
Personal brand empowerment.
money.
Yes. We
Showing
love
up
that.
as yourself unapologetically.
Boom.
Love,
Go
joy, and
for it.
fulfillment.
Yes. Say it again.
I said love, joy, and fulfillment.
Oh, love those ones. Rob?
Mm.
Oh wow, I'm drawing a blank here. I was trying to think of something that no one else had said, right? But I can't do it. I think love and wealth, right? Because wealth can be
Yeah.
defined in many different ways, and so can
Mhm.
love. What's wealthy for one is not wealthy for another. And like for me, wealth is abundance of love, abundance of friendship, and abundance of money. So wealth and love.
And abundance of health.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
For
100%.
sure.
Okay, so thank you everyone for watching the live replay, for listening to us today. If you want to watch the replay, the link will be available on the Stand Out from the Crowd YouTube channel. The last episode also will be available on favorite podcast platforms. We are everywhere. And I wish you a happy new year. Take care of yourself, safe, and I will see you next year for a new live episode of Stand Out from the Crowd. So you take care and you enjoy the rest of the week. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Happy New
Thank you.
Year.